This is America. Welcome to America today. A great day in the United States of America. She's in. Justice Barrett, days before the election. Angry Dems can't stop. Welcome to your morning drudgery here with the Colonel and the Wiggles. She's in. She's in, Wiggles.
I can't believe it. I believe it. It's just beautiful. It was moving. I got emotional. I had to hold back the tears. I didn't expect to feel that way. Look how beautiful that is.
Oh, it's just so beautiful.
It's
It's America.
Oh, our flag is so lovely against the beautiful whiteness of the...
What? Racist! Racist!
Who doesn't love a White House? They're just pretty.
Well, I'll tell you what, Justice Thomas stood out like a sore thumb there at the White House today.
Oh, his mic, sound guy. I was like, who's doing the sound? But they immediately started cranking it up.
You saw that. They started gaining that up really,
yeah,
really
I was like,
strong.
there goes the gain.
I was like, uh-oh, somebody forgot to put the lapel mics. Trump's yelling at somebody right now. And it was all across the networks, because I actually went and looked at the other one because I was literally curious about that particular thing. I was like, was Fox News the only one without a mic? And no, it turns out they all did, at least the ones I saw.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Yeah, shit happens,
It makes me feel good when I see shit like that happen.
That is
like,
the live production broadcast.
It's not easy doing a live production.
No, it is not.
It really isn't. People think it is. We make it look easy.
We do, because we're so good at it.
That's right.
So good at it.
But it's not easy.
It is not.
Terribly stressful. But when it turns out, man, proud moments. Like tonight.
America.
She's a mother.
Indeed she is.
You would think that Democrats would be celebrating this. Like, she's a mother. She has a multiracial family, a woman, and a judge. Standing on the Constitution as her foundation. What's so wrong with that? How could they not want to celebrate that?
I don't know.
Like, I can't quite wrap my brain. How can anybody not want to celebrate that? Like, party aside, like, what's so wrong with that? That's a huge victory.
Seems to me like they just want to be contentious. It was a very contentious nomination process, obviously. And this is all, like, the funny thing about this, really, though, like, and again, like, I get it, Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell, they came across as a bit hypocritical, not so much because they really were. Well,
or were they? I mean, because what's the okay? So the
there's
argument
a fundamental
is
difference between the 2000 and what was that 2014?
Oh gosh, man.
I think it was. It was a midterm year. Yeah, I think it was 14. I think it was no.
I think it was earlier than that.
No, it was 2016. It was 2015 going into 2016.
Okay.
It was the last year of the Obama administration. If I'm not mistaken, it was the last year. It was 2015, yeah.
Okay.
And Obama nominated, I guess about 11 months before the election, a Supreme Court Justice, Garrett, I believe the name was. I'm not recall, but the Republican Party had basically just been in the previous midterm launched back into the Senate. So it was a democratically controlled Senate, and the people chose.
It was Merrick Garland.
Merrick Garland, that's right. Yeah. And the people chose a Senate, a Republican Senate. So obviously they were placing a check on Obama's authority to not appoint or not to nominate, but to actually confirm the justice. So they put a Republican Congress in there to check, because apparently he was not doing a job that the American people trusted enough to allow him free reign control. So the Republican-controlled Senate at the time, led by Mitch McConnell, essentially was like, hey, you should just wait for the election, because essentially they needed the Republican Party to nominate, to win the nomination, not win, but confirm the nomination. Mm-hmm. And they were basically saying, hey, we're not going to do this. The people just elected us. They were elected Republicans to choose the next Supreme Court justice, and we don't like your pick, and we think you should wait until the American people choose the next president. And that is an argument, and Lindsey Graham has gone down for saying basically, mark my words, use this. You can use this against me if it ever flips around or something. He said some stupid shit that puts his foot squarely into his mouth right now. And but that was the difference at the time. The difference was that the Senate was controlled by the Republicans and the president was a Democrat, and so he was not going to be able to push through his justice.
Okay, so now we have a situation.
Now we have a situation in reverse.
Yes.
Where essentially you have a Republican president that has now twice had a Republican Senate renominated by the people or revoted by the people to choose Supreme Court justices, which is a very big part of Trump's platform, was I'm going to appoint
and we all
Supreme
knew that.
Court justices.
Yeah.
That was a part of his base. That's why people turned out to vote for him. That's why some Democrats flipped Republican. So, that was a big part of the election. So, in this case, the people had already they have decided in this case. In that case, they were in the midst of transitioning away from the Democratic Party, the people being, the voters, were taking Obama out of power prior to the end of his actual term. In this case, they have not done any such thing. So, it is a different standard altogether in this situation. Now, yes, there is hypocrisy because of the way that the Republicans were wording their arguments at the time. I think more just an overzealousness in their arguments that make good sound bites for the Democrats now to basically call them hypocrites, by saying like you should let the people decide this close to an election. Well, that was probably not the best way to word that argument because that was 11 months from the next election, and this is, a week and a half. So to say that far from the election, within 11 months of an election, you should not, nominate a new Supreme Court justice because the people should decide in the next vote. That's not a good argument. But again, none of that matters because these people are just crotchety old people. The Constitution is the only thing that actually matters at the end of the day. The Constitution clearly appoints the president to appoint and the Senate to confirm. And for the people to vote through the Electoral College and through their direct votes as they occur in the presidential and midterm elections, however it may be. So that is...
Well, let's ask this. Is it truly a radical idea to expand the Supreme Court by 9 seats and pack it like the Democrats are?
Well, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so, because it politicizes, it undermines the purpose of the Supreme Court. This was attempted by FDR during the New Deal era when he wanted to when he was restructuring the entire economic system, moving far towards a socialist sort of a concept, or a welfare state, trying to rev up the economy. And really, he seized a lot of dictatorial power that kind of led us to where we are now in terms of executive powers. And he, at the time, wanted to pack the Supreme Court so that he could appoint liberal justices that would enforce the New Deal policies. And his own party, the Democrats, refused to do it. So he was defeated by his own party on that case. And they were very supportive of him. He was a hero to them and even a lot of Republicans. So he was a big figure. But even with a solidified base, their inner instinct and just the kind of the clarity of the Constitution that matters said, no, that is not how this is designed to work. If you do that, you are literally erasing you're taking away the power of the whole purpose of the Supreme Court, which is to be elected by the people for that very purpose. And just adding justices or taking justices away, that basically would mean that every time whoever wins the election gets to basically just pack or unpack the court. You could just keep adding more justices forever.
Fluctuate. You could shrink it or expand it.
Yeah, it would basically just become political shields, political hacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that that cannot stand. That is simply not a solution to the problem. Now, the only case that could arise for packing the court in a legitimate sense as the country grows, populations grow, diversity grows, would be for a bipartisan kind of like, okay, well maybe 9 people are no longer quite sufficient for the caseloads, for the broad breadth of all the arguments that come before the Supreme Court now compared to what they were when it was only a population of 600 million and now it's, or it was a population of, 50 million, 100 million, 200 million, now it's 400 million. So, we could have more justices to provide more feedback. But every case so far about this is basically said 9 is a good number. It's an odd number. It's always there's always a tiebreaker unless somebody doesn't vote or cast their
So
So
if the Democrats pack the Supreme Court, wouldn't they essentially be able to dilute the true voice of the people?
absolutely.
So that we should all be concerned about that.
Yeah, well, they would dilute. They would take away the sovereignty of the judiciary.
Yeah.
They would simply, more accurately, they would amplify a portion of the political. They would amplify the democratic ambitions of the people while neglecting the Republicans on the court, where justice, the equal scales of balance, are supposed to occur. Because like the entire optics that they're using now in mainstream media, which is so deceptive and so trashy, really, is that it really matters. It doesn't matter if the nomination process is occurring correctly and the natural process of refinement, iron sharpening iron within the judicial system is actually occurring. You don't end up with people that are at that level in the federal courts that they're now going to be nominated to the Supreme Court, that you end up with like terribly ideologically biased judges that actually enforce their own opinions, because that just does not work very well in the system.
Yeah.
Like, it has occurred. There is corruption with justices, but like that, or judges. But anyway, so yeah, I think it's just at this point at that level, when you're playing on that level of pro ball, that's not what they do. Kavanaugh has consistently sided with liberals, with liberal justices. There are liberal justices that side in conservative cases. There are a lot of 6-3 cases. Sometimes it's 5-4. There's a good percentage of 5-4. A lot of times there's unanimous cases. So like one's political party, by definition, does not influence how.
What really has been the issue with Amy Cohen?
Oh, there's been no issue. The issue is that
I just feel
the issue is that Trump nominated her.
When she was, but as she was going through, was that a trial?
Well,
it certainly felt like it.
Those were the hearings, the confirmation. That was the judiciary.
The confirmation hearings.
Yeah, the confirmation hearings.
It just seemed terribly painful, repetitive.
Political theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all just political theater. At the end of the day, none of it mattered. It was a complete waste, what it did is just kind of reveals the real character of the people and the parties and where they are in the positions. Because at the end of the day, she was exceptionally qualified. They had nothing on her, So the majority of Americans, Democrats and Republicans, the majority of Americans like her and wanted her confirmed.
I guess that's what I'm asking. I'm wondering the majority, like regardless of party.
Yeah.
Like, because even though I happen to be voting Republican this time, I don't consider myself to be a Republican. I genuinely like her.
Yeah, if again, the Supreme Court doesn't deal with like death row cases, or actually it does, but it doesn't deal with like individual cases per se, like the appeals courts quite as much. But like if I were standing before the court, my life were in jeopardy, and like I was afraid of justice, regardless of my political beliefs, Amy Coney Barrett is exactly the type of judge that I would want to have, judging whether or not I'm going to die or spend the rest of my life in prison, or be, because I feel like she's going to be an honorable, decent person. And I think that just comes through, and America gets that. And I think the politicization of it, the politicization, I don't even know the fucking word.
It's okay.
It's just like completely ridiculous.
Let's just make 'em
and
up.
So antithesis to the entire concept of this entire proceeding. It's not supposed to be this way. It's an ugly part of the partisan politics that we are in right now. And it just kind of shows kind of the seedy underbelly, and really just kind of the adolescent just pettiness of it, really.
Yeah, it's quite embarrassing for America.
It's just silly.
Yeah,
it's really silly. I think that's what makes her stand out in this case. Kavanaugh but sort of in a different way. Kavanaugh was kind of shady to me. He's kind of weird, but like in this case with her, she just, she didn't have to say anything or do anything. Nobody wanted her to say or do anything. It was all about just, getting up on your little soapbox and having your 10 minutes, and that was all it was about. I'm happy she's in. Go back here to some of these. I guess it's just a repeat here. It's happening currently. President Trump look black all of a sudden there? Oh, he's in the shadow of his own teleprompter.
Well, I was saying, I'm like, with all that tan, I don't know why people think he's so anti-brown. He clearly wants to look brown. So does Melania Trump. They both look like brown people to me. I mean, can't you see?
United States Constitution.
Well, I mean, sometimes he's orange and sometimes he's bronze.
The Constitution is the ultimate defense of American liberty. The faithful application of the law is the cornerstone of our republic. That is why, as president, I have no more solemn obligation and no greater honor than to appoint Supreme Court justices.
Well, that's a fact. That is a constitutional fact. There's no denying that is a very important part of his job. And he did it. He did his job. That's
From
what
Indiana,
he was elected for.
Right across the bridge, right across the Ohio River.
Right across the way over there.
20 minutes away. So close. So close. So close. This would be Indiana. I'm starting to get a warm place for Indiana. It does, the landscape itself reminds me of Georgia. And I think I like the price of the real estate around there.
Yeah.
Having dry skin is a struggle.
I don't want your dry skin. Don't give it to me. Don't give it to me.
Get you some.
Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
I really did enjoy, after revisiting it and giving it a second chance.
First, start about your reaction to this confirmation and what it means for you, because should you be Speaker in the next Congress, any sort of expansion of the courts, any balancing of the courts would have to be done through lawmaking that happened in your body. What is your reaction to tonight, and what are you open to in the future?
Well, I think first let me say, Chris, thank you for your focus on every aspect of what is happening here, from the coronavirus and its connection to this taking up this confirmation instead of taking up legislation to crush the virus. This is a very sad day for our country. Within the past 24 hours, we've seen the President of the United States say in his delusional state, we've rounded the curve on this, we've rounded the turn. We haven't. We've heard his chief of staff tell us, eyes wide open, as you said, this is a decision. They do not intend to control the virus.
I thought we were talking about Amy Coney Barrett.
There you go, the political theater. And it's just like, I think that's what's going to win Trump this election, is the fact that this is what they were doing in 2016. This is just a repeat of their same stupidity. They are not very smart. They're not very bright.
It's like, how did he say all that to her and she jumped all the way to coronavirus? What? Huh?
Yeah, but because that is the talking point. And okay, we're going to get into Pelosi, but like what she's doing with the stimulus bill, like that is not looking good for her. Her own party's turning against her.
No, people are freaking. I know.
It's
I
her
wanted my
power
stimulus
hungry.
money.
She wants to win. This woman has been shat on her entire career by the right and just kind of humiliated constantly because she is a walking corruption and a gaffe of herself. And she's not the first one in the history of politics, but she is one right now, and she is angry. She is bitter. She is like, Trump has humiliated her, and this is not about the American people, the Congress, the Senate, the fucking laws, or justice. This is just personal animus and senility. She's going crazy. She has class A Trump Derangement Syndrome. At this point, like Trump's very presence is all that is required to cause complete catatonic despair.
Million people infected, getting close to 250,000 people who have died. And now we know they never it wasn't just ineptitude. It wasn't just politics. It just wasn't their defiance of science.
But yeah, the point being that she's just terrified of a Trump win at this point. They are so close to the election. She does not want him to get a check out with his signature on it. and she does not want this Supreme Court justice.
Well, you know what?
And
they
so
should have given us Kamala and Biden.
All they have, their entire political platform now has devolved into COVID-19. That is the entirety
and we're so
of the
over
Biden
it.
administration.
We are. I think everybody's over it at this point.
I do too. I do too. And it's starting to look like the polls are reflecting that.
It was a decision not to crush the virus. And what that means to the education of our children, the economy of our country,
and the rest. A decision not to crush the virus. We've been forced to wear masks. We've been forced to quarantine ourselves.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
It's affecting the education of our children because of NTI. I mean, she's suggesting basically that we do that for the rest of our lives. She just wants the Orwellian superstate. It's so hypocritical. It's so pathetic. And you know what? There's certain people by the names of Jill Baker that believe things like this.
Gosh, man, yeah. It's so astounding and sad and ridiculous.
There is an entire class of people, liberal elitists, that simply they just dribble it up. It dribbles out and they sop it up. It dribbles and they sop. And it's just like at this point, it just doesn't matter what's said. It is pure Trump derangement syndrome. There is no longer any actual semblance of real thought going into any of the Democratic talking points. It is just the
brainworms are speaking.
It is just, yes, we have to get to November 3rd. All this is about Trump. It has nothing to do with anything but Trump. Trump. And COVID-19 is the only fear-mongering tactic they have. You know, so they're not even talking about the economy anymore. Like they mention it occasionally, but like that's already rebounding back.
I'm just not sure when they talk about like Trump hasn't done everything he can to crush the virus. I'm trying, you know.
He was doing everything that they're saying to do now when they were saying don't do those things.
Exactly. I don't understand.
Don't lock down the country. Don't take the kids out of schools.
Yes.
We weren't devastate the economy.
To the park. We weren't going to the movie theater. We weren't going to the stores. We were online shopping. Even now, we're not taking our kids out to the store. Even now, our kids, I guess they're slowly reopening schools around the nation. And if you can, afford private schools, your kids are in school. But even private schools, a lot of those schools, they're only open 2 days out of the week. Some kids are not even, that are in private institutions, they're not even going to a physical location. So we're wearing masks. We are hand sanitizing, alcohol, bleach, peroxide, paper towel. You can't even buy anything but Bounty at Sam's Club right now, which are, the most expensive paper towels. Everything is, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? I don't understand. They've got me, I'm washing the mask, I'm washing the book bags, I'm washing the jackets every single day. What else do I do? I'm taking my multivitamin.
I think we should start making our mask out of $100 bills. I think that's the solution to all of our problems. That's the only thing I can think. Just troll the left. I don't fucking know at this point because, look at her. She's wearing her mask as a fashion statement. Yeah, I just do not know. We know. Actually, we all know. It's transparent. There's no longer really a way to how many times do we say these people are crazy?
Yeah, they are. You would think that at this point people would be saying there's hope because our president and our first lady and the president's son all got COVID-19 and they've survived. And they're full of life. Yeah. They're not sick and broken down and hardly able to walk. Like, things are good. And he's talking about a vaccine that's going to be out maybe in the next couple weeks. If not, before the first of the year, probably. And either way, a few short months away, we can have a vaccine that's out that people can take so that we can, I guess, get this under wraps on top of every action that we are taking as a community of people, as a nation, to make sure that we keep it in check as much as possible. I mean, it's a freaking virus, for Christ's sake. Yeah. What else can we do?
It's America, and that's the thing that matters. And they cannot concentrate on any of that. They can't talk about policy or government or anything like that. They simply have to stick to the COVID talking point.
Rush this Supreme Court nomination through, which has an impact on the health and well-being of the American people. It's only 8 days until the...
Now listen to her now. Listen to her now, because she's talking about how we're rushing things through and rushing. Now, mark my words, I do not think this woman is going to win. But let's say she does. If the Democrats win in November and they are in January, just mark my words, they will be rushing all sorts of things in February and March. There's going to be such a deluge of rushing and
a sense of urgency for the sake of the American people. All of a sudden, they care about us again.
Yeah, all of a sudden, there'll be a sense of urgency again.
The election, people are voting now. As you know, over 60 million people have already voted. So in the middle of an election, they're putting this forward. It's 8 days until the election, 15 days until the oral arguments on the Affordable Care Act. And the president said within this past 24 hours, anyway, it was reported in the past 24 hours, that he was there to overturn the Affordable Care Act.
The reason she's so giddy, there's a reason that she's really giddy. I think they're wrong about the percentage of the ballots that are going to go to Biden. They think that like mail-in ballots and early elections are primarily, or early voters are primarily swinging towards Biden. That's not why she's excited, because I don't think that's true, and I don't think they believe that's true. She's excited because if you're not aware, like one of the number one search terms here in the past few days has been, "Can I change my vote?" Typically, it's what we call the October surprises, and that's what the Biden email scandal, the Hunter Biden thing. That's all the October surprises. Last time it was the Hillary email scandal. Essentially, both campaigns find all the dirt they can find throughout the 4 years, and they drop it in October, right before the November elections, and they try to derail people's confidence in their party. Mm-hmm. This case, where they have these things, like basically the Democrats wanted this so bad because they knew that these things were coming. They know their weak position, and they also know that Biden's corrupt. They're also corrupt, and they're all into this thing together. So the beauty of this year for Democrats is that people that got out and voted in the surge and voted that are Democrats that last time around would have at this time, but by election day turned towards Trump. Mm-hmm. Now they've already sent their ballots in 3 or 4 weeks. They sent their ballots in before the Hunter Biden crack pipe revelations came out. So that's a very good thing for Democrats. The fact that their moderate and medium base gets out their vote before they become acquainted with the truth, so that they vote in ignorance prior.
So that's the number one search term right now.
I don't know if it's the number one search term. It is a trending search term on Google.
Incredible.
Can I change my can I change my mail-in vote? And in some cases you can. It's a state-by-state basis. States determine how you vote. So in some states, if you mail in your ballot, you can go vote in person and sign an affidavit, a legal document, show your ID, sign your document, and you can override your vote in mail in person.
Well, but
in other states you cannot.
What if you voted via the mail, and you let's say you didn't vote Biden, or maybe you did, whoever you voted for, and you're concerned that maybe one of your vote got tossed in a river, or put in some trench somewhere. It didn't make it. Is there a way to verify whether your vote went through?
I don't think you're allowed to. Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to. I don't think you. No, and as far as I know, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure though there's no because it is your vote is protected, so you can't even look up in a normal year who voted for who. So no, as far as I know, you cannot verify how your vote was counted in the system. I could be wrong. That's a great idea, some sort of federal database.
Yeah, because I know I got a letter in the mail that showed me the years that I did vote and the years I didn't vote.
They count your vote. I just don't think they publicly make available who you voted for or anything like that.
I see. I guess it's for your own protection.
The votes are state by state basis. So the states determine how their republics vote. So there's not a whole lot of consistency in it. For example, one of the Biden swing states, or the Trump swing states, however you can look at it, but Pennsylvania is a very important state. Who wins Pennsylvania is very important to who will win this election in the Electoral College. They have, and now the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, I think, I don't know if it was if our Supreme Court, maybe it was our Supreme Court actually at this point, the latest round of appeals. But in the case in Pennsylvania, now not only can the state receive ballots after the election date on November 3rd, but you can still cast a vote if you have not been able to cast your vote or had your thing. So basically, there's a situation that's brewing in Pennsylvania now that will probably make its way to the Supreme Court in the end of all this, where the vote could be called for Trump.
And one state could swing
and
it.
Then Pennsylvania could like rouse up all the Democrats, like everyone flocked up, like just like put the pressure, and they could go out and vote after the election's already done.
Wowzers.
And like try to swing and turn it in Pennsylvania after everyone else is out.
That's a hell of a move.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's you know, and you listen to like Tim Pool and others that like really get into depth on this end of it. They have to cheat to win. It is a cheat to win scheme. Like the Democrats cheat to win. Republicans are always trying to fight the moral high ground, trying to win people over on, you know, principle and your own life. You know, looking at you get success with these principles. And the other side is always trying to figure out a way to rig, gerrymander, change a borderline, change to enslave a demographic, somehow get someone to feel like they have to vote for you out of fear. COVID, your skin color, the racists, the supremacies, wars, whatever it is, your health care, whether or not you're going to get cancer and not be able to pay for it. It's always a fear tactic, every election without fail on the Democratic side. And typically the right does not do that. I'm not saying that it does not occur. There's definitely been fear mongering. Mm-hmm. But just as a general policy principle, on average, it is a Democratic game. Cheating and rigging. And they still lose. That's the beauty of the American system. That is the beauty of that's the Constitution. That is what the founding fathers are looking at. Like, that is why we do not have a democracy. We have a democratic republic. So there is that check on democracy. The popular vote does not decide. It is wisdom and prudence that decides. It is state representation that decides, not the mob.
And thank God for it.
But goddamn, they want the fucking mob. And that's what, when they're wanting to pack the Supreme Court, that's what they want, is they want to pack it with people that will support the mob. And that is a threat to the left, because ultimately already the social media, all this censorship that's happening on the right now is turning on the left. Now people are getting banned on the left. And they're crying and complaining about it. Oh, they're censoring. Well, I mean, you were the ones that like literally were, celebrating this. You still are every time it happens to someone else.
All the time. Yeah.
But then when it happens to you, you act like, oh, it's injustice. No, it's not. It's exactly it's your karma. Mm-hmm. It's what the conservatives were saying when you were shutting them up. Their last crying dies on their channels were like, they're coming for you next. We were playing a game together, and now you have just like changed the rules so that neither one of us will be allowed to play. And sure enough, the wheels turn. People like Nancy Pelosi, they just want to suck up your power like a vacuum cleaner. And she's on the way out. Like, she's not going to make it. Mitch McConnell's fucking Emperor Palpatine, fucking Lindsey Graham, all these people, like, they do not matter. Like, they're not going to be around much longer here.
No, yeah.
It's, it comes upon our generation, the next generation of hopefully educated and wise Americans. Our generation, the millennial generation, has to grow up and be a little bit more proactive in our thinking and in our voting and how we deal with politics and our life and our finances and everything else, because these old people are all about to die and we're about to be the old people. Yeah. So we got to start catching up here in our thought processes. I think it's happening. I think culturally it's a repeat of the 60s and 70s, and the world of cycles and America's cycles. But I just, again, thank God for the founding fathers and the way that they set up this government to work. Because the Democrats are planning to throw a huge cog into the Constitution and the judicial system if they can pack this court. But I think the founding fathers set it up in such a way that now, Donald Trump has put a cog in that plan with Amy Coney Barrett. Yes. And hopefully all of this will just kind of go back to normal. And I do think that's possible. I do think somebody can just win and they'll bitch. They'll be stupid people, but I hope so.
It's my firm belief that we will get a sense of normalcy and calm after this storm that we've all been weathering after the election. They might hoot and holler for a little while, but, everything loses steam and fuel at some point. And I think the American people will have spoken. I mean, just looking at you know, the private pages, people, what they're saying, looking at how many people are turning out to the rallies. I think the American people are going to speak, and you know, and I do not think that the media reflects MSNBC and
no,
the true sentiment of most Americans.
Absolutely not.
I think it's like reality TV at this point. Like, you know, in the beginning we ate it up and we loved it, but we get tired of that shit eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see how scripted it is. You realize that it's not actually real. It's not honest. You know what I mean? You're not getting some view into somebody's real life experience. These are all scripted moments that they're dramatizing so that they can keep us glued to the screen and, you know, and impact our thoughts so that we are, you know, buying a certain way and spending a certain way and living a certain way and thinking a certain way, and so that we are just completely owned and manipulated. And you see through it eventually.
I'm trying to look up there's a couple of different times now.
You would just think that like right after November 3rd we'll get the stimulus to come through. And it would be perfect because you have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas. It is like the absolute most perfect time for Trump. Like, even if he can't get it through right now, for him to do it right then, because it's just when it impacts you the most.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got Black Friday and people can, you know, take advantage of those deals so that they can give their kids good Christmases and their friends and family. And of course, all the cooking and food. And
well, there's going to be a stimulus bill. There absolutely is. Like, Christmas is coming, and, like, you know, there's a mom going around like, oh, Daddy, you know, why did Santa Claus not like us? And it's like, no, Nancy Pelosi didn't like us. But, like, Christmas is coming, don't worry. But it's still going to be slim pickings if you're relying on the stimulus check for your entire Christmas. You are shit out of luck. I'm sorry, because like that's not even your bill money with that much.
I mean,
money,
you're right, but you know what I mean. Any increase is an increase for people that are just barely getting by.
Yeah, but at this point we are like, I mean, I remember when it was crazy and insane, like towards the end of the Obama administration, we were like $13 trillion in debt, and it was like the end of the fucking world. We are now like $22 trillion. Like, we have like tripled it in like 1 year, and a lot of on the stimulus shit like has been crazy. We start this stimulus bill is presented, which was just to send out $1,200 to every fucking family.
Hasn't it gone up now?
Was $500 billion, and like that's gonna send everybody some money.
Yeah.
And Nancy Pelosi said no, and then now it's up to like 1.3 trillion or some crazy fucking number. Let's just add another $1 trillion. At this point, we're so many trillions. Like now until we get to 100, like 50 trillion is the next benchmark. I'm like, oh, now it's serious. We're about to collapse. It's $50 trillion in debt. Like, just adding on to it, and none of it related to stimulus. Really, it's all about like fucking like policy positions and Green New Deal and trying to pander to all these different things. But here, let's see. This is not. I haven't seen this particular one. I've heard about it. I'm looking for the Jake Clapper one, but let's see what this one is here.
Okay. Calling him a Republican apologist. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi sparred with CNN host Wolf Blitzer this evening, calling him a Republican apologist during an exchange over the holdup of the coronavirus stimulus bill for Americans. Democrats are currently pushing for a price tag of $2.2 trillion. The Trump administration's most recent offer is $1.8 trillion.
Why not call him and say, Mr. President, let's work out a deal. It's not going to be everything you want, not going to be everything I want, but there are so many Americans right now who are in desperate need. Let's make a deal.
What makes me amused, if it weren't so sad, is how you all think that you know more about the suffering of the American people than those of us who are elected by them to represent them at that table.
Okay, let's unpack that real quick. She's talking to Wolf Blitzer of CNN. She's calling them you people. Wolf Blitzer should be like, what do you mean, you people? I'm your people. This is Wolf Blitzer of CNN. These are like Nancy Pelosi's biggest cheerleaders saying, hey, Nancy, when can you just say you won. That was good enough. Like, they have caved into, like, they're up to $2.2 trillion now. You won. She wants blood.
It is unfortunate that we do not have shared values with this White House, and that they have in their bill, why don't you talk about in their bill, a tax break for the wealthiest families in the country, while they cut out the earned income tax credit for the poorest families in our country and the poorest children in our country.
But let me just quote Ro Khanna, a man you know well. I assume you admire him. He's a Democrat. And he just said this. He said, people in need can't wait until February. $1.8 trillion is significant and more than twice the Obama stimulus. Make a deal. Put the ball in McConnell court. So what do you say to Ro Khanna?
What I say to you is, I don't know why you're always an apologist, and many of your colleagues apologists for the Republican.
What?
Again, Wolf Blitzer?
Right? CNN?
What do you mean, you people? Who are you talking to? Wolf Blitzer is an apologist for the right? Come on, Nancy, your senility has gotten insane.
Position. Ro Khanna, that's nice. That isn't what we're going to do, and nobody's waiting till February.
Several House Democrats are urging Pelosi to take the White House's stimulus deal, but as you just heard there, she believes it does not serve the greater interest of the American people. If lawmakers can't agree on a bill, President Trump has said that a relief package probably isn't a reality.
It's political sport. What they are doing in football is called running out the clock, or in basketball, they are running out the clock. They're just ticking down the clock at this point. They do not want to make another move because the next play could be the one that loses them the game. It is so close. It is so tight. Despite I think the last number I saw this morning was 97% chance that Biden wins. And now it's up to a majority percent chance that they win the Senate.
Really?
And the House. So at this point, like, they have such the flying numbers, and they're just like in heaven. Like, there's nothing that could possibly happen except one like terrible disaster that would cause Trump to win. And then why? Why are they so afraid to play one more play? Give us our stimulus? If you're that far ahead in the score, like even if we score in the last 20 seconds, you still have 50 points more, right? So like, what are you worried about? What do you have to lose? It's all lies. The polls are fake. They have no faith in them because they're outdated. They are built on outdated models. Social media has changed the entire game. All of the metrics, all of the analytics that were in play, that really worked, that were accurate and true up until the digital age, are no longer relevant. And like, that's not saying that Trump will win or lose, but what I do think, regardless, is that like the polls will be wrong drastically and in like really fundamental, important ways.
I don't see how they're right. When I
you look at the rallies, you look at the energy.
When I drive around town and I see people with their Trump signs in their yard, I don't know. My eyes don't lie. Yep. I see what I see.
Well, I think we're all seeing the same damn thing.
Yeah, I'm seeing the American flags. I'm seeing the Trump signs. Yep. I'm seeing how big the rallies are. I'm seeing how frustrated and fed up people are. I'm seeing of COVID, of the masks, of kids not being able to be at school. So I mean, I can't recall the exact number, but like, women are leaving the workforce. Like they're having to stay home now. They cannot go to work. We're having to stay home and there's nothing wrong with being
what happened
to
the second wave feminism here in the coronavirus.
But it's just
isn't that up there with Black Lives Matter? If you can go violate all the rules and masks and everything to go protest, shouldn't women be able to violate all the mask rules in order for second or third wave feminism to make sure that women don't have to go home and watch their children?
But it's just proving,
isn't that Nazi that women have to watch their children?
Basically, we're all having to come home, and again, there's nothing wrong with this, but at the same time, if you're leaving a job that was paying you money because now you have to come home and homeschool your kid, I mean, that's a hell of a cut to take in your lifestyle and in every way that's even sacred. A lot of women having their job, having that career, having that place to go to. It does give them a sense of meaning, a sense of independence. It is something that they wanted, the example that they want to present to their children. So, and that's just being completely revoked and taken away. And because what are you supposed to do? Who's going to be at home with the kids?
Yeah.
Who's making sure the kids are doing their lessons? I mean, there's absolutely accountability as a parent. You have to be there. And then,
well, at this point, like, the thing is, like, shouldn't everybody be working from home? So everybody should be on NTI, basically. Adults are on NTI, the children are on NTI.
I mean, the internet can't even take it. Like, our internet, like, the kids were complaining earlier. Like, That's
because I throttle their speech so that I can look at my websites. I'm just playing. I don't do that. I would never do that.
I
would never throttle the children's homework so that I can look at pornography on the internet.
The Pornhub, damn it.
That's just completely unrealistic. That would never happen.
No. Yeah.
But no, yeah. I mean, I guess that really is the thing, though. Is like, even like now that we're kind of investing in stock market a little bit, like looking at like all these reports on like the future of the stock market and the future of like the American industry is like, oh, this home work from home thing is actually becoming an institution. So like these tech companies that are making it possible for people to work from home, like this might not reverse. Like corporations might find it cheaper at some point to let you work from home and like set up your office and like get you a computer and blah 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 and like have you know. But
it's at greater expense to the worker. Okay, and you're getting paid
greater expense to the worker, less to the company. So the company can raise your salary,
but they're not.
But you have a higher cost of living. Well, I mean, I'm talking about if this normalizes as a new way of life, which is what they're kind of predicting right now on the models, especially with like the way technology is shifting, and companies have had to basically spend money on this infrastructure during the pandemic. They're not going to just throw that money away. They're going to try to just basically capitalize on it and make it a sustainable model.
Well, what happens also to like the sanctity of being at home, that sacred space, like
right, the detachment where you have work and you have Well,
so,
I mean, that is something that is
and
going
your mental
to revolutionize
health and your spiritual health and then how that impacts.
It might
the
be
family.
that you go out like for Sabbath, you go out for your like your home is no longer the sanctuary. You know, you go. So I don't know. I have no idea. Something, it's all changing.
Well, I mean, I had someone confide in me and share with me. I'm working from home, and there's this expectation now. Even though, like, I'm a mother, I have 2 kids that are here that like need my time, and this is during COVID, so they don't have the exact same freedoms. And like, once upon a time, I could drop my kids off at the YMCA and like leave them there for 3 hours or 4 hours. And like come back and get them. So they were doing something productive with their time. And like now, well, I think the YMCA has opened again, but although it's limited, but for a long while, with like all that was basically stripped from us.
Yeah.
So and of course she confessed this a few months back, but she goes that they want so much from me, and she was. I mean, I could tell she was fucking breaking down. Like she's like, this job is just, they're sucking me dry.
Yeah.
And then you see, I was reading the news just the other day, and I was reading an article that reflects that exact same sentiment. I am spending, it was, for instance, with my father working for AT&T, they want him to work from home. And he goes, well, I'm not supposed to use my personal internet for the company. So will you provide me an internet, line? Will you pay for that? So it's the company's, and I will use that and do my job. Oh no, we won't do that. Well, I'm violating company. That's another thing. A lot of these people are in violation of company policy and don't even know it. And of course, they're going to leverage that against people to just fire you and lay you off at any moment.
That's also just now. Like, I think that will change. I think it'll basically, there'll be kind of a corporatization of your private internet company, your private internet service provider. Like, essentially people will start to trade off, kind of like you do for an app on your phone for Google and Facebook, to basically intrude in your life and like take control over all your information.
That's another thing. Do you have anything that's private when you're using your home line for work purposes?
In order for corporations to basically make this a sufficient model where it's cost effective, like they'll basically be buying up like huge wholesale bandwidths, and then like essentially they could essentially right now what your dad would be for them to pay the internet. Like they might actually offer that. It'll just come with a whole lot of other intrusion, because now like basically you will pay for your internet because they already have like this huge contract with whatever, and they'll like basically you'll stop paying for your internet to take AT&T's corporate internet. And then, like, all of a sudden, you'll be on the company network when you're looking at your Pornhub, or when you're having an affair, or whatever the fuck, or doing your banking, or whatever the hell you're doing. Like, they'll just be harvesting your information. There's a catch-22 to all of that. But that is where kind of everything is shifting. They're doing that in the business place already. Like before COVID, the workspace was already being like completely inundated with like this new smart technology, cameras, tracking, GPS systems on your cars, GPS on your phones. You know, they're monitoring your web searches and everything when you're in the office. That's just going to translate back to the homes. But, you know, again, like, and we're talking about like, kind of basically who knows what's going to happen. The future's coming. It's not here yet, but, the present is now. But I think this election and kind of where we go, who has the reins in terms of ideologically, whether it's the right or the left, moving into this very crucial time. I think it's really a blessing for all of America that Amy Coney Barrett got put on the Supreme Court, and not just some partisan hack that would go right or left. But this is going to be a crucial 4 years. It's going to be an important 4 years. I'm not saying apocalyptic, like if the Democrats win, it's the end of the world. If Trump wins, it's the end of the world. But COVID is going away. COVID is just a fucking virus. But the fucking police state infrastructure, Big Brother shit.
Yeah.
That never goes away. That's just like government. It grows and never shrinks. What it gains, it never gives up. Mm-hmm. So like these consequences will far outlast COVID. And there'll become a point in time when we are still wearing masks when there's not even COVID, simply because it is a requirement in your state that has not yet, taken away the mask mandates from pandemic era, and like it's still, a law that they forgot to take off the books.
Can you imagine?
I mean, that's where all of it goes. So
poor Keela, I didn't know this, but for her job, she's literally tested for COVID every single week. So they are shoving those cotton swabs.
Tons of those. Well, there's less intrusive ways. Is she getting?
Well, that's the way they're doing it for her.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least that's what was shared with me.
Yeah. There's more expensive but less intrusive ways they can test.
I just thought about her poor little brain fluid.
Oh yeah.
I was like, my
God. Yeah. They stuck on something up one lady's and it punctured her brain sac and her fluid drained out of her nose and shit. Well, she had a surgery, but that like kind of made that. But like, I mean,
well, I know after I got
your
my
brain
test,
sac. Can you imagine if your brain sac got punctured?
I still think mine was punctured because I tell you what. So I go to the hospital. I'm pregnant. I got morning sickness. They want to test me for COVID. I didn't have fucking COVID. I knew I didn't have COVID. They should have known I didn't have. I was pregnant. I had morning sickness. I have a history of hyperemesis. So, I mean, but still, they wanted me to test for COVID. So, of course, because I'm in a hospital, I already know how this wheel turns. Let me just go with the program. I don't want to say, no, don't test me because it's going to turn to some hell where I get on house arrest or something.
Be like, we have our rights.
Yeah, that's not the time to fight for your rights. Not quite like that. So, I got tested. I got quarantined. I was stuck in a room by myself without my husband, without any family, like feeling like I'm literally... You don't know what feeling like dying is till you actually think you're feeling like dying. You can't even imagine what that feels like. But I felt like I was dying. Anyhow, had never had a history of migraine headaches. I don't get headaches. I just don't. And all of a sudden, and it could be pure coincidence, but all of a sudden,
stress related probably.
And addition, yeah. I mean,
because of them motherfuckers.
But I started having these really terrible headaches, and I couldn't help, and they've persisted. Of course, now months later, I'm well into my second trimester now. They have subsided, and maybe it was completely related to the progesterone and the hormones that were all elevated, and the hyperemesis and the stress of COVID and the stress of a new baby and the stress of life. But, I can't help but wonder, was it because I got that COVID test? Because I literally had pain behind my eyes. It was just the most insane pain. Tylenol was not working. I could not get rid of it. I was cocktailing. They literally told me to start drinking like coffees and Coke, which I had cut myself off. And I had been doing that for a while. So it's not like I cut myself off from caffeine and I was all of a sudden having these withdrawal symptoms and therefore I was having migraine headaches. I think they fucking punctured my brain.
Yeah, I think they did too. I mean, it shows in different areas of life. And yeah, I think they might have punctured your brain.
Fuck you.
All right, we're coming down to another hour. We have put away another hour. It's 54 minutes here into the show. Amy Coney Barrett now Supreme Court Justice Barrett.
She is really pretty.
I know that's
like, I guess that's not really important, a side note, but she is quite a stunning woman, and she's a mom, and she's from Indiana. I just like her.
She's at mega hot. No intended hashtag offenses on the
and she's
cringe
like,
hashtag cringe, but she's hot.
She's
she's
simple.
a MILF.
Yeah, she's got cat eyes.
She does.
Kind of
Which people probably making internet mime. She's born of the devil.
She's really lovely. She's lovely. Bless her.
Well, folks, welcome to another day of life and living, and may God bless your ever move. And Amy Coney Barrett is now the Justice of the United States of America. Amy Coney Barrett, now Justice of the United States of America. Folks, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new world, because apparently everything's about to collapse, and they're saying that there might even be an asteroid strike on or before the day of the election, and we might all die. This is your morning drudgery.